Forgive me, family, for I have sinned. It has been more than a couple of months since the last podcast episode. If you're new to the show, you didn't know that I've been gone since like November. Woo, doggy. But for those who have been following and been a part of our Facebook page, please accept my apology, because no one hates winter more than somebody who has a motorcycle in the garage. This week, we're going to talk about highways and what's been going on.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
All right. You know, I've been riding since probably 1977, and I've had every bike I can think of. I've had Hondas, Yamaha, Suzukis. Most of them have been touring bikes. Even when it wasn't cool, I was the young guy riding on a touring bike because I like going places and being able to carry my crap. Well, in 2021, I bought a Challenger. And it's just like everybody else's Challenger, I believe, right now. But I hope to do a little customizing it to it. And this is the time when you can prepare. It's the off season here on the East Coast for the most part. And it's a good time to plan and plot where you're going to go for the rest of the year. It's a good time to buy some stuff and get your bike ready. You know, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So don't take this time, which none of us have in abundance, and waste it. Now, for me, I've been going through some trials and tribulations, and I'm probably not by myself. On top of all the coldness, the COVID plague, the legal issues, and the way people are fighting about it publicly and social media-wise, and on top of all that, I have a sick spouse. She went into Johns Hopkins Medical Center in May of last year and never walked again. Yeah. It's been over 8 months now. So the podcast was a little slow. It disappeared, but I'm still here. I'm still thinking about you guys. I'm still maintaining the Facebook page and swatting all those dang foreigners that keep trying to take our money by posting scam and bootleg stuff. But they're out there. Hey, question for you. Why do you ride? Think about it for a minute. For some of us, it's just freedom. Some of it's a passion. Some of us like the speed. Some like the friendship and the brotherhood. For me, it's a stress buster. I feel close to God when I'm riding. It is improving my mental health, and I need it. For some people, it gives them some exercise. Gets them outside the house. And the F factor is just freaking fun. And it's cool as hell, right? But you tell me, why do you ride? You can send me an email to kenn.blanchard@gmail.com. That's kenn.blanchard@gmail.com. And let me know why you ride. And if you would like to be a guest here at Indian Motorcycle Radio. You know, we also have an Indian Motorcycle Radio YouTube page. Yes, we do. There'll be a link to it in the show notes. And you can find out all the past episodes and more information about Indian Motorcycle Radio at blanchardnetwork.com. And then within our group of why we ride, there's groups of us. Like there's the DIY people. There's the brothers who can actually turn a wrench. Not like me. There's the posers, of course. There's the diehard Harley guys that they look at you with envy because you ride an Indian. There's the adventurer, the one who usually has the BMW, the enduro bikes, traveling in the deserts and stuff, doing all that cool stuff. There's the daredevils, the younger kids, because I was like one of those once, but I never was the Papa Willie in the middle of the highway guy. I wasn't that guy. No. I just admired those who had the skill, but I had no DNA to try that. I like myself too much. There's those who collect, who have, a garage full of bikes. There's the ones who tried it once and they quit. That kickstand's been down longer than they've been on two. And I ain't trying to shame you. I'm just saying there's just that type of people in our groups. There's the iron butt dudes. There's guys who have been to Sturgis and both the coast, and they've gone and traversed this whole country and done some amazing rides. Then there's pretty much people like me, the weekend folks, after hours. There's the commuter too. Now I have done one long ride in my life, just one, from Camp Pendleton to Quantico. That's Southern California to Virginia. And I was much more bulletproof back then. But I would like to get some trips under my belt with some of you guys. Now that I've done this thing, I got this podcast out. I've actually connected with some of you guys that are local. And our sport is growing. Our thing is growing. There's like small divisions in areas and locales. And it's going to be a great year of riding in 2022. One of the things I regret just recently is there was a we call swap meet for motorcycles here in Maryland, and I wasn't able to go to it. I had like too many events happening at the same time. Can't do everything. What a drag, man. What a drag. Don't forget, let me know why you ride. I would love to hear it. Even if it's just a quick shout out, you can call me. The number will be in the show notes, and leave a voice message, and I'll post that on why you ride. So as we dust off our ears, and for those who are new to motorcycling, let's talk about highway riding. All right, next up, I want to give some tips for surviving the highways. And if you are new to riding, you can take note. And if you've been on a bike a minute, please give me a few amens or let me know what I could add to the conversation. Like, for instance, one of the first things you want to do once you enter a highway is make sure that they can see you. Being seen is everything. A lot of accidents happen just because the car, the boxers, the cagers, they don't see us. Now, in the spring, the risk of such accidents is higher because drivers don't expect to see us yet, and that's coming up. Some people don't like to wear reflective gear. I mean, they'll think look like you're an amateur. They want to wear their black. But I'm telling you, even when you're walking on the side of the road or you're doing jogging or whatever, you want to be lit up. Bright colored crap works. As you ride, use your lights and your horn when you have to make sure folks know that you're there. Secondly, if you're new to this whole thing, make sure you ride during the daylight hours. During your first few springtime rides, stick to the daylight hours, especially if you're inexperienced or an uncertain type rider. A lot of spring hazards happen at dusk and during the night. For example, you should expect to encounter deer, rabbits, geese, and other animals on the road that are near wooded areas or bodies of water. And at night, these jokers come out and cross the road. You may also have difficulty navigating roads that are wet or in poor condition once that sun goes down. And if you're taking a multi-day trip, consider camping out or checking into a hotel before it gets dark. All right, so the biggest threat are the cars. Now, even though divided highways are statistically safer than most other roadways, the relatively high speeds, frequent lane changes, and congestion can be on your last nerve. Now, to survive this sometimes hostile battleground, you need to foresee some problems before they materialize and continually position yourself to be seen and defend against the aggression. It's them against you, baby. The hazard you're most likely to encounter is a driver merging into you. This happened to me just my last ride. That person was totally oblivious that I was there. I don't know what she was doing. And if they're distracted, they're careless. They'll change lanes without a glance. Now, as much as you love to rearrange her, let me stop before I get in trouble. As much as you want to say something, it's better if you just survive the incident. Now, you can minimize this risk of getting caught up in another driver's mistake by spotting that hazard before it hits. When it happened to me, I saw who was driving. I saw how she was not looking at anything. I was right behind her. So when she cut me off, I just glided to the side and passed her. And she was so shocked that she pulled off and had her own self a little pity party. I'm glad she was sad about it, but it scared her too. So keep a lookout for brake lights and sudden head or arm movements that may indicate slowing traffic, imminent lane changes, or just some erratic maneuver. The more you're in tune to who's riding around you, the better. And if you can't shake the tailgater, increase the following distance from the car in front of you. If you ride where drivers can't see you, don't be surprised if you experience a lot of those close calls. Now here's where the guys who have the loud pipes go on about it. They rev the motor. They make sure folks can tell they're there. Be as conspicuous as possible by choosing the lane positions that place you where drivers can easily see you or hear you. For me, I got the boom box cranking. This lady heard ZZ Top real loud when I passed her. On the highway, this also means not lingering in the area just behind the front doors. That's their blind spot. Make sure you ride through this danger zone and avoid changing lanes into a driver's blind spot. Instead, accelerate ahead before moving over. Understand that you got blind spots too. See, our motorcycle mirrors aren't great for revealing what's behind you, so take a quick glance over your shoulder physically to make sure it's safe before you merge over there to change lanes. Besides making yourself visible, the optimum lane position allows you to see well ahead so that you can spot problems early and provide a space buffer between you and surrounding vehicles. Smart lane positioning also includes ample following distance that gives you good forward vision and the time and space to respond, especially if traffic stops quickly or if a shredded truck, tire, or other crazy debris thing just appears out of nowhere. Now, if the traffic is heavy, that doesn't always allow you to have the great following distance that you want to have. But to increase your forward vision and reduce the risk of being hit by inattentive drivers, position yourself to the left or the right to create an escape path between lanes if you need it. If a driver insists on crowding your six, change lanes to let that person by. If you can't shake that tailgater, increase your following distance from the car ahead. See, tailgaters become less programmatic if you maintain the pace set by the average driver and stay out of the left lane unless passing. Now, when you pass, do it quick and in a hurry to minimize that riding in a blind spot and stay out of the way. Now, when you're entering the highway, you've been driving, it's all cool, and you say, all right, I got to go around this beltway for a minute. Or you're going on a long distance. Use the entrance ramp to accelerate to speed before merging into traffic. Give drivers ahead plenty of room in case they decide to slow. Suddenly braking is common and extra dangerous when you merge. Once you're on the highway, change lanes gradually and stay out of the right-hand lane when approaching an exit or entrance ramps to avoid cars that are entering or exiting the freeway. Other things to watch for are poorly secured loads on car rooftops and on trucks and trailers. There's some crap that's just going to fly off. And if you're on a car, it's going to hit the windshield. But if it falls on you, man, no bueno. You also need to be wary when approaching toll booths, as drivers frantically are jockeying for a piece of change or the shortest line. Pick your lane early. If you have a toll pass, go, baby, go. That transponder is worth it. When you're riding on that rural highway with little traffic, your biggest challenge may be simply to stay alert. In contrast, surviving a highway run during rush hour requires steadfast diligence. Keep your wits sharp and adopt effective highway strategy to ensure your safe arrival. If you're riding in the dark, it's even more important to leave room ahead and not go faster than your headlights, especially if there's no traffic ahead of you to warn of obstacles in the road. Having a burned out taillight during the daytime is an inconvenience. Having one after dark could be the end. If you have an older bike especially, make sure certain your tail and brake lights are burning bright. The things I hate the most are those construction grooves, those rain grooves. Some tires, mostly ones with the big tread grooves running circumferentially down the centers, will track along the rain grooves, giving your bike the same sort of woozy, unstable feeling like you're riding through sand or have a flat. Try not to freak out when it happens. Maintain steady throttle and grip the bike more with your legs than your hands, and you'll be fine. And if it's really bad, pull over when it's safe and make sure you don't have a flat. If you're lucky enough to live somewhere that allows lane splitting or lane sharing, we prefer to filter through cars when traffic is slow or stopped. The best time to filter is when cars are side by side in their respective lanes. Then drivers have to see each other, and that greatly reduces the likelihood of making an unexpected lane change. Beware though, one lane is stopped next to a lane that's moving. That's when the temptation is greatest for a driver to dive in without looking back at you. Now during the day, we lane split with our bright headlights on, right? To increase our visibility. So, use your high beams in the daytime, in case you didn't know. And wear that high vis crap. I mean, I know it don't go with your uniform, it don't go with your bike colors, but high vis saves lives. In general, once you learn how to share a lane, don't go back. It's one of the great benefits of being a motorcyclist in a big city. And 99% of the people who are stuck in cars seem to realize your bike represents one less car, and they might be happy to make room for you. But that don't take it to mean that you've been seen. After a while, most of us develop a sort of sixth sense in traffic. You learn what kind of driver a person is by how they move through traffic, how their rearview mirrors are positioned. One thing I've noticed is if they have the mirror focused on their face, they're not that great a driver. That means they can't use their mirror to see as well as you think, that their blind spot is going to be bigger. Nobody has taught them the proper use of a rearview mirror. Can I get an amen, somebody? Use every advantage you can to see whether or not that driver is paying attention, whether they're on their phone or they're looking for an opening to move. If they do anything that sets off a red flag, stay the heck back. Well, these were just a few quick tips throughout it all. Remember some key things. No matter where you are, place yourself in a position to have an escape route. Always pay attention. Limit the amount of time you're in a blind spot. Use your higher perch to look through car windows and front wheels of cars. If you must wear an open face helmet, don't be foolish enough not to wear some kind of shatterproof eye protection, because you will be hit with sand and debris and bugs and cigarette butts. Most importantly, use some common sense and err on the side of safety. Don't do anything that you're not comfortable with. Ride your ride. Speaking of rearview mirrors, how do you adjust yours? In cars or bikes, they should be out far enough that a car shows up in them until it shows up in your peripheral vision, and that eliminates blind spots for everybody. It drives me nuts when somebody says that their mirrors aren't good because they can only see they can only see their shoulders. If your mirrors are adjusted correctly, you will never see shoulders on any bike. But if you do have mirrors that can see behind without shoulders, and you just have to see what's directly behind you, do it with the left mirror, as it is much easier to do a head check on your left side while still controlling the throttle. Keep the right one adjusted out. In this crazy day and age, we also have younger people who might be trying to follow you since you're going through traffic in a nice way, like the Silver Surfer, and they want to get on the end of that tail. If you have to slow down, touch your brake early to flash your brake light, giving them a few moments to know that you're going to do something. And finally, if you're riding on the highway, please wear a helmet with face protection. A helmet without a face shield can be adequate for neighborhoods and in rural riding. But when you get on the highway and start getting a face full of bugs, sand, rocks thrown from vehicle tires, and cigarette butts flicked out the window, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Beware of other people's blind spot. Motorcycles, by definition, don't really have blind spots, but that doesn't mean that you can stop paying attention to the blind spots of other vehicles. Never, ever ride continuously in another person's blind spot, particularly large vehicles like tractor trailers. The minute you find yourself in a blind spot, start thinking of a safe way to get the hell out of there. That means usually speeding up or slowing down or moving to another lane. Always have an escape plan. Part of riding safely on a highway is always knowing where the routes are to get the hell out of Dodge. Recognize that moving faster than traffic is usually the safest option. The first few times on the highway, you might feel safer riding at a slower pace and sticking to the right lanes. That's understandable and okay. But it's also important to realize that most motorcyclists ride faster than the traffic around them because it's safer. Moving more quickly than other traffic gives motorcyclists more control over how they encounter other vehicles rather than putting them at the mercy of drivers who may not see them or forgot that they were there. Don't forget to look out for obstacles in the road, potholes, rain gullies, those rubber things that come off of the tractor trailers, the old tires. There's a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't bother a car, but it can wreck your morning if you hit it. If you're not already doing it, learn about lane splitting. I know it's controversial, and it's not legal in all places, but learn about it. Keep your following distances long. Save night riding for when you're more experienced, and ride your ride. At the end of the day, riding your motorcycle is a personal journey, and it's important not to feel pressure to ride in ways that can put your life at unnecessary risk. That's if you're going with a whole bunch of people who've been riding longer than you. Keep your safety knowledge in mind, and don't ride faster or more aggressively on the highway than you feel prepared for. And remember to never assume that any driver can see you. Motorcycle awareness still isn't nearly as common or as widespread as it should be. I'm hoping I made some sense and gave you something to think about. May have mumbled or stuttered over a word or two because that's just how I talk. But if you didn't understand something, please hit me up with an email and let me know. Ken, what the hell were you talking about? That's kenn.blanchard@gmail.com. Again, I will leave that, my number, and the link to our Indian Motorcycle Radio YouTube page in our show notes. So at the time of this recording, it's below freezing right now. And I want to ride so bad. But it's also a good time to plan for a trip. What's on the schedule? Right now, it's February 15th at the time of this recording. What's on the schedule for you? Do you have a team ride? Do you have a group ride? Is there a convention? Is there a meetup? Is there something happening in the next few months that you want to share? I would love to share your calendar here with the other members of this podcast. So let me know your event as it is coming. Okay. As a wrap up this week, I just want to say a quick shout out to my friend Israel, who is in Florida. He was involved in a really bad accident that took out his bike, but not him. So a little thanks to God for keeping my brother with us. Those that pray, please continue to pray for my family and my wife. My new normal is that she will be handicapped and unable to do for herself for quite a while. And that's a big change for me. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to try to retire early and become the jazz singer and the blues player that I've always dreamed about being. But who knows? I want to thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to this podcast.
Work here is done. I'm needed elsewhere now. I'm needed wherever outlaws rule the West, wherever innocent women and children are afraid to walk the streets, wherever a man cannot live in simple dignity, and wherever a people cry out for justice. Oh! All right, you caught me. Speak the plain truth. It's getting pretty damn dull around here.
All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I want to thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to your favorite righteous podcast, Indian Motorcycle Radio. Now may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon you. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Kickstands up. Let's ride.